And ladies and gentlemen, we are live for episode number 2 of what we call Honors Life. Very, very creative. This is your new daily live video podcast about all things entrepreneurship. And what we're going to do here is we're going to invite on to share their stories, everything about what it actually means to be an entrepreneur. And I'm very, very happy to have an entrepreneur with us today here for episode number 2. With us is Nadim Kuttab. Say hi, Nadim.
Hey, Philip, it's good to be here. Thanks for having me live in your podcast.
Fantastic. So I hope you can hear us well. I think we have some connectivity issues on my side, so I apologize if that is the case. But anyways, we'll stop. We'll not stop here. Dive right into this. I'm super, super stoked to have you here for our episode number 2. And yeah, we'll just roll with whatever happens because this is life, this is raw, and this is how it's going to go down. Okay, so let's start with a little introduction. So I met Nadim 2 or 3 times already, and both of the times that I recall, sometimes I'm drunk and I don't know, so call right. And both times he was on the main stage actually at Affiliate World, so he shared the stage here with me, and that was amazing. And he talked about right. That's your kind of thing, right? You know how to run media. Is that true?
Absolutely. I always joke it's pretty much the only thing I'm good at this stage.
Well, let me share something that I stole from someone. I don't know who it was. Probably some old Greek philosopher. But you can only really be good at one thing, right? Otherwise, you are average or mediocre at everything. That's what they say, right? So let's hope this is true.
For sure. I mean, definitely went down the path of not being a jack of all trades and focusing on a few select topics. I mean, I can jump right into it. I'm a native advertiser, Philip. It's what I've been doing for the last 6 years, almost 6 years at this stage, spending money on native ads. So I'm excited to talk about that today.
Absolutely. So before we dive into your entrepreneurial journey, tell our audience what a native ad is. A lot of people probably don't know what that means. So let's start with marketing, then advertising, and then native advertising. And let's
Sure.
keep it brief.
30-second elevator pitch. Native ads are below the feed placements, banners that have an image and a headline and maybe a short description and a call to action. They are in the mix. They're mixed with native articles. So if you're on a news site like CNN, you'll have organic pieces of content from CNN. Next to it, there's an ad that looks the same, but it's from a different publisher or a different advertiser pushing a product, selling a story. These are oftentimes very small ads. They're relatively cheap compared to other forms of display advertising. And the unique selling point that you have about native ads is that you're reaching people when they're consuming articles and content. So if you serve them articles, they'll read them at a really high rate. I mean, we have CTR, so people reading through our article, sometimes in excess of 50%. So, really, really, really high read rates, which lets you push a narrative. And we've taken that and essentially built a model around it for brands and bigger companies to spend a lot of money on native ads.
Cool. So if I'm an entrepreneur, which I am, and I want to get my message out, you're telling me that native ads is one vehicle, in your opinion, probably a very good vehicle to get your message out, get in front of people, and actually get your message read. Is that true?
I think native ads are a very broad form of advertising. So if you're trying to reach, a very unique B2B or a very small subset of an audience, it's very hard to do that on native because you're competing in a very broad environment. So, native ads generally are really good for products that have a broad appeal. Let me give you an example, whether it's a car insurance, whether it's, I don't know, something for your home that everybody needs, whether it's a service like walking your dog. I can imagine that works well on native, and I haven't seen it around. So the broader the product, the more likely it is that you'll reach the right people on native ads.
Cool. So, first of all, what you do might be interesting to a lot of entrepreneurs and how they can get their message out. Secondly, I want to speak about your journey as an entrepreneur, because from what I know, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but from what I know, you started as a media buyer. So, a person who purchases ads basically makes sure that a product is promoted through native ads, right? But then you became a managing director, CEO of a company doing exactly that. And just recently, you have become a full entrepreneur. This is why we have you on, right? So you're a fresh entrepreneur, if I'm right. Now, basically doing similar stuff to before, but on your own terms with your own company. Is that true?
Yes, in a nutshell. I mean, I started off as I finished my political science degree in 2017. Started as a very junior.
How much is that worth as an entrepreneur now?
Oh, I have no idea. Not a lot. I mean, I enjoyed it, but I don't know how much it helped me in what I'm doing right now. What I did learn in general about education, and I mean, I think especially in our circles, there's a lot of different opinions about this, is how to sell myself. At university, one of the things that you had to do to lobby to push for, people to listen to you, was become very good at selling yourself, and that's definitely helped me a lot in life. Getting out there and learning to talk about what you do, how you do it, and a certain subject that you're passionate about. In this case, native ads. Um, I know that's not something that they teach you at school, but it's one of those skills that kind of transferred well into what I'm doing here. I think the other stuff maybe less so.
I get that. I get that. I spent 11 years at university,
Oh,
and
wow.
that's not because I'm so smart. I do have a couple of degrees that my mom is very proud of. Hi, mom. Thanks for watching. And I'm actually somewhat proud of it as well. But the main reason I'm proud of is because it was very hard for me. It was very hard for me, and I'm not sure if it helped anything for what I do today. So I'm always curious about if people actually spend some time at university and how do you think it has benefited them? Okay, so selling yourself is one of the things you learned at school, at university.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that transferred well into, I've always been somebody who's liked to take on new challenges. I'm not very comfortable being comfortable. Let's call it that. I like to be pushed. I like to be in an environment where things are changing. I've noticed, I had a 9 to 5 when I was younger, and I was really good at it for like 6 months, and then I was like, man, but I want to do more. So I took on, projects outside of my scope of work, and noticed at some point that I was just working, 60-hour weeks and enjoying it. I enjoy a certain base level of pressure, and you can achieve that as an entrepreneur by dictating how you spend your day. So you can, if I want to put myself under more pressure, if I'm too relaxed, if that's what you want to put it, I can go and find more work and do more. Yeah, and native ads, and especially direct response marketing, which is the type of marketing where you go out there to get a response directly, like it says in the name, has an unlimited amount of challenges. There's so much to do in this space that I find myself having to limit myself and focus on projects more and more, because of the way that I like to work. I mean, let me give an example, Philip. When I started this venture, early this year, I had maybe 40 different directions to go in, and I could have done what I did in my previous company. I could have done something completely new, and instead I said, well, I'm going to take what I'm good at, and I'm going to try to hone and build a product around it. So we've defined, I think it's 5 key areas of growth right now, and we're really building systems around those key areas. I think as an entrepreneur, one thing that I really took to heart is, as a leader, not even necessarily as an entrepreneur, learn to replace yourself. So really, it's essentially system building. What I've been doing in the last months is taking something, preparing it, handing it off, taking something, preparing it, handing it off, and that's allowed us extreme growth in different areas of what we do, and has been exactly up my alley because I get to do something new every month.
I think that's amazing. And I think that's probably one of the things that I enjoy really as an entrepreneur as well. But let me dive into that.
Mhm.
So, as I mentioned before, from what I know, you do very similar things to what you've done before, but as an entrepreneur. So, you just mentioned one thing that might have shifted. You have more freedom to shape the different processes, I assume, right?
For
And
sure,
build your own
for
systems.
sure.
What are like one or two other things that have changed now that you are being an entrepreneur?
I think it's very much around, I can structure the company around my pace. So there aren't any, call it, other visions in the company. We've put together a group of people, and the team that I'm working with right now believes in what I believe. They look in the same direction as I'm looking, and it allows us to work together towards a variety of different goals that are in one specific area. So let me give you an example. I've always wanted to put together an e-learning course for native, and it's just never been something that I've been able to dedicate the time to sit down and say, you know what, um, out of the 100 people that reach out to me a month for support on Taboola, on Outbrain, on different native ads channel, I can help maybe two. because as an agency, we're just, or as a consultant, I'm very expensive to sit down with for 10 hours and look at your campaigns. Whereas if we build a product that's more accessible, we suddenly bring native to more people, allowing for more brands to succeed on native, and carve open an entire sector of native advertising that currently really is underdeveloped. And that's been a passion, if that's what you want to call it, of mine for quite some time that I've never gotten around to. And now that I'm dictating the pace of what we're doing here, we're throwing time and energy at building out something that I think is really going to help a lot of people understand Taboola, Outbrain, and native ads overall.
That's cool. I want to dive into something else. And I think you being kind of like a fresh entrepreneur, you're probably a great person to speak about this topic. So there's a lot of hype, I would say, about entrepreneurship nowadays. A lot of people want to work on their own terms in whatever way. I think it's a generational thing. It's also it has to do with a lot of like trends that we see. But then I feel there's a big difference between somebody freelancing or trying stuff on their own and being an entrepreneur who is actually building a company, right? It
I
also
think,
means that,
go ahead.
go ahead.
I think it's a very much around, are you building a product or a system? I think if you're building a product around yourself, you are the product. You are what goes out. If you're a freelancer, that's you're the freelance designer, you're a freelance consultant for different areas. That could be an incredibly lucrative job, and I would consider you an entrepreneur, but not a system builder per se. So I think that true entrepreneurs, the people that I've talked to, like you, like other people that you'll be talking to the next days and weeks, they strive to construct things. I always say that we're engineers for products that are a bit more less tangible, or systems that are a little bit less tangible. I spend a lot of time, when I go to bed, it's one of the few times of my day where I'm not working or I'm not mentally at my desk. I have all these ideas on, okay, how do we structure ideas? And I've talked to other entrepreneurs that are like, yeah, I have a little, might sound cliche, but like a piece of paper or a notebook next to my bed with a pen where I can just jot down ideas,
Of
because
course, yeah.
some of the best ideas come when you're not trying. So
That's very true. I mean, one of the best things I realize you can do as an entrepreneur is that you actually take off times, right? And train yourself to get into a different vibration, is how Aki called it yesterday, right? A different frequency. And I think this is very, very important, right? He quoted like Elon Musk and other guys who are well known, but I think this is true for everyone. I want to share one brief story here. The artist Dali, right? Salvador Dali. What he
yeah,
did, if I remember that correctly, he was sitting in a chair with, or was it Picasso? See, so much for my education. But anyways, one of these famous artists and probably entrepreneurs as well. He kept a big ass key in his hand, and he was just sitting in a chair, right, holding the key, right, waiting to fall asleep. So the second he fell asleep, the key dropped, right, made a big noise when it like fell on the floor, and he woke up again. So he only needed this like split second to come up with ideas, but ideas that he could not have when he was fully awake, right? And he was actually training that. So I found that very interesting. I tried it as well. The problem is I don't wake up. So
you let the key sit, right?
yeah. Anyways, all right. Tell me about one of the shitty things, one of the hardest things that you have had to go through over the last couple of months being an entrepreneur.
I think there's a lot. Entrepreneurship is glamorized in a lot of ways, and you read all these articles about successful entrepreneurs and unicorns and these people. The majority of entrepreneurs struggle a lot more than they succeed. I think in general, this is in digital marketing, it's the same. I always tell junior marketers, when you start, you're going to lose a lot more than you win, and that's what builds you up to be to solve problems. The biggest challenge is obviously the uncertainty. You're not working for a big corporate. If you don't get up in the morning and do something, then no one's going to do it, or things won't get done. The company's not going to move forward. Your projects are just going to stagnate. And obviously, as a solo, as an individual, you hold a lot less leverage over partnerships and relationships, and especially clients. They know that they're one of three that you're working with right now, and they'll demand certain things of you, knowing that there's a certain leverage. It's different when you're working with a national corporate that has a million clients. You're tied to them in a way because there's not a lot of other options. As an entrepreneur, you are replaceable in some way, so you need to work for your bread every single day. And that's where the system building comes into play. I think empowering people, building systems, and enabling you as an individual to be replaced within your own company is the bread and butter of successful entrepreneurship. But it's
So
also the hardest part, if I may add, like letting go of things and spending a lot of time to put something together just to give it to somebody else who may do a great job, may not, or may not do it the same way as you and take it and run with it. That takes quite a bit of leadership is I think the right term. You learn to kind of trust others and enable others to grow and replace you.
so if you're like into building systems, right? And you build something, that's what you said before, and then you hand it off to your team. And obviously, you want to check back and make sure everything is working, but you continue building and building. So, one of the things that I realized that are very important here is to understand how to mix the day to day operations and be present as much as is needed, to combine that with very much looking forward, right? And obviously, there's different ways of different styles of leadership. Personally, I like to look very far in the distance, right? I like to see things very long before they materialize. And I hope this podcast is one of the things that falls into that category, right? I'm looking very far in the distance. Um,
Fingers crossed.
so for yourself, right? Where do you see your new venture in, say, 5 years? What do you want to build, and how do you keep yourself accountable towards that goal?
I'm not sure I'm the best person to ask about 5-year plans. To be totally honest, I'm very much living in the next, 6 to 12 months is what we're currently kind of scoping. Um, I mean, we founded the venture in January, so it's a very fresh concept. Typically, I think, especially in advertising, it's close to impossible to have a concrete plan over such a long period of time. We don't know what's going to happen in a month, in a year, in 2 years. I mean, the war in Ukraine is a great example of something that I didn't expect. I could have bet money against it when, things were developing. I was like, we'll be fine. It's never going to happen. It's we've grown past it, and it had a huge influence on our day to day, on our bread and butter, on our core business, in a way that no one would have predicted 2 years ago. So I think it makes sense to kind of have fallback options. We've learned to build reserves. One of the first things that I did when we founded this is set very clear financial goals where we said we want half a year of full operational expenses in the bank at any given point in time. And I don't know a lot of companies that are working like that, especially in the startup phase, because cash is king. They want to use it to grow. They want to use it to fund the business. But from an experience from the past years, it puts you under pressure to make short-term decisions if you don't have that floor. So one of the learnings that I think I've taken over the past years is sit on a comfortable cushion and be in a position to act in like you said, in long-term interests. Don't take decisions because you need to this month. In an ideal position, you take decisions because you'll see the results of those in 3 to 6 months, and then they'll pay off double or triple what they would do if you did them with a short-term lens.
Absolutely, I agree. Looking at timeframes, I realize we've already been speaking about almost 20 minutes, right? And 20
Oh
minutes
boy.
is we want to stick to here at this format. It's absolutely
Mhm.
crazy how time flies. But I'm committed to keeping this short so people actually get a chance to listen to the whole thing and not
Mhm.
like spend a half weekend on this, like on a Joe Rogan show. So I have one last question, which is, what's what's $1 million business idea people should steal from you?
There is so much demand for transparent and competent partners in the advertising space. Whether it's optimizing funnels, whether it's optimizing creative strategies and ideas, most large brands are built inefficiently because of the way that they've grown, because of the I want to call it like the 6 layers of decision making in big enterprises. Um, Choose something that you're good at and that you enjoy and make it into a job. So if you're creative, fulfill that potential and start thinking about how can I provide value. The entire business that we're sitting on right now was built around the question, how can I provide value to companies? So we didn't go and say this is our product. We went to clients and we said, hey, listen, we'd like to help you. Where do you need help? And that's where we invested the majority of our energy. So it's, I guess, to keep it very simple, solution based products and businesses. If you can provide a solution to somebody's problem, you've got a business. Build that out, make it something you're good at, and sell it.
All right. Thank you very much. We're right
Thank you
on
so much
time.
for your time.
That was absolutely great having you here. Thank you, Nadim. Guys, if you want to follow Nadim, find him on his socials. I think LinkedIn is your preferred
Yes,
channel,
sir.
if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, sir.
Also, please, wherever you're watching this, follow this channel. And yeah, be back for more. Thank you very much, Nadim. It was a pleasure having you. Have a great
Thank
day.
you so much, Philip. You too. Take care.